Alright, so I've been thinking about diving into this hobby and really committing what little free time I have left to actually getting better at it. And the past few weeks, I kinda have been doing so. In between the hustle and grind of work, the endless responsibilities as an adult, I have very little time. And that time is gonna be used for this. My hobby. It's sort of a creative outlet for me since I really miss being in an art field. And this is miniature painting. You've probably seen these tiny detailed figures before. But here's the thing, it's not just for hardcore gamers or artists. It really is for everyone looking to try something new, something creative, and something surprisingly therapeutic. So let me break down for you my 5 reasons to start miniature painting and show you what a day in the hobby is like. So I'm starting a Deathwatch army, and I'm going to be using Auspex Tactics list to actually start it. The reason for this is the Warhammer game itself changes its stats and points values. This is sort of how you decide what you can take into the game. It takes me too long to actually paint these things. My army, the one I'm currently been working on for months, is no longer valid. So for now, I'll be ignoring everything that Games Workshop has changed and just focusing on this list until I finish it. So reason number 1, it's a creative outlet that doesn't require talent. And seriously, you don't have to be Picasso, Van Gogh to start. These miniatures come unpainted, and it's all about layering colors, adding shadows, and bringing these little guys to life. And we all have to start somewhere. It's like coloring, but in 3D. And the best part is, even if you mess up, you can always just paint over it. Now, I have a bunch of these Phobos marine bodies from a transaction I made in Facebook Marketplace. These are missing their heads and their arms. And as you can see, it's an easy to build kit. I'm not quite sure where it's from, but I was thinking if I could just chop up the arms and then just use the torso, I can just print the heads and weapons. And having a mixed unit team like the Deathwatch will make this a lot more interesting. So in the list, Auspex Tactics has given, the Spectre Skill team is a 10-man Phobos squad with 2 Last Fusilier and Eliminators, which I will be printing out from Tiny Legend, and 1 Instigator Eliminate, which I will be using the Morta Punk Girl to signify that Instigator Eliminated. And you guys will see why, because I originally printed something similar, but it didn't really work out. Reason number 2, it's really relaxing. In a fast-paced world where you're constantly looking at screens, keeping up with work and responsibilities, this hobby really changes the pace. It forces you to slow down. When you're focusing on tiny details, blending colors, and being in the moment, everything just slows down and it relaxes your brain, and in the end of the process, you get a pretty nicely painted figure. So I'm going to be priming these guys with the Hydro Paints Black Primer. Number 3, it's a really good way to spend time with your friends. The Warhammer community is amazing, however, I'm not very integrated since I prefer to spend the time playing the war game with my friends, because ever since I moved and started working, I really don't get enough time to spend with them. And now that these guys are primed, they look a lot more official, unlike what they looked like when they had mismatched colored parts. And honestly, they turned out pretty well, despite having 3D printed bits. Now, I'll be using a technique called zenithal priming, where I'll be using white ink to mimic the lighting. I'll be spraying the Arcus white ink Reason number 4 is it's incredibly fulfilling. There's no better feeling than finishing a miniature, or at least getting it to a point that it looks good enough. Seeing all the layers and details and your hard work come together, it's a tangible result of your time and effort. And when you line up a whole squad or army and look at it and say, yeah, I made that, the feeling is just amazing. And now that's complete, I'll be experimenting with Hyro's power paints, which is their equivalent to contrast paints. And I'll be using Machine Gray and Phantom Black. And finally, reason number 5, it's a hobby that grows with you. You can start simple, just with a few paints and one miniature, but as you get better, you start to experiment with advanced techniques like weathering, glow effects, OSL, or even customizing your own designs. There's always something new to learn, and it's really exciting, especially for me who just started a few months ago. And seeing what I can do now, I am excited to see how much further I can push it. The zenithal highlight really shows up despite being darkened by the black power paint. So there you have it, 5 reasons to grab a brush and paint some miniatures, and I got to show you what it's like for me to hobby in a day. I hope I've inspired some people to actually pick up a brush and paint some miniatures. Now, I didn't get enough time to paint these guys, but that's okay. That's something to do tomorrow.